What are ions? Ions are made from neutral atoms. Yes, students, atoms are electrically neutral because in the structure of an atom, number of protons which carry positive charges are exactly equal to the number of electrons which carry negative charges. So net electric charge is zero. Here you can see this is the structure of sodium atom. It has 11 protons inside the nucleus and 11 electrons around the nucleus in shells. So net electric charge is zero. But these atoms with net electric charge zero are unstable except noble gases because their outer electronic shell is incomplete. That makes them unstable. So, in order to get stability, these atoms lose or gain the electrons to obtain noble gas configuration. But by this way, their net electric charge get disturbed. For example, this is the structure of sodium atom. The arrangement of electron in shells is 281. That means in first shell it has 2 electrons and in L shell or the second shell it has total 8 electrons because maximum accommodation of electrons in second shell is 8 and 1 electron is present in the outer shell or valence shell. As you can see in this condition, number of protons are 11 and number of electrons are also 11 but with negative charge. So net electric charge is 0. But the question is, how does sodium atom get stability? This sodium atom loses this electron. Now the valence shell will be vanished. After removing the electron, the structure of sodium will be like this. In the first shell it has 2 electrons, in the second shell it has 8 electrons. Now the second shell has become the last shell that has the 8 electrons. It has removed the 1 electron in order to get stability. Now the number of protons are still 11 plus 11. Number of electrons are now becomes minus 10 because 1 electron has removed. Now the net electric charge will be plus 1 because now its net electric charge got disturbed. Now it has the plus 1 charge. So students, sodium atom after losing the electron, it gets the plus 1 charge. This is not the sodium atom. Now it becomes the sodium ion with the electronic arrangement 2 and 8. So students, this is how atoms becomes ions to become more stable. So we can say that an ion is a charged particle, either positive or negative, due to the uneven number of protons and electrons. Now, types of ions. How many types of ions? There are 2 types of ions, cations and anions. What are the cations? Positively charged ions are called cations. They are formed by loss of an electron. Size of cation is smaller than parent atom because a cation loses a shell. Cations are generally formed by metals. Metals atom generally lose 1 or more electrons like sodium plus and calcium plus 2. When an atom loses 1 electron, it forms monopositive cation like sodium plus. It gets plus 1 charge because it loses 1 electron. And when an atom loses 2 electrons, it forms dipositive cation like calcium plus 2. It gets plus 2 charge because it loses 2 electrons. And when an atom loses 3 electrons, it forms tripositive cation like aluminum plus 3. It gets plus 3 charge because it loses 3 electrons. Now, anions. What are the anions? Negatively charged ions are called anions. They are formed by gain of an electron. Size of anion is greater than parent atom because anion gains electron and shell. Anions are generally formed by non-metals. Non-metals generally gain one or more electrons like chlorine -1, oxygen -2. When an atom gains one electron, it forms mononegative anion, like fluoride negative. It gets -1 charge because it gains one electron. When an atom gains two electrons, it forms dinegative anion, like oxygen -2. It gets -2 charge because it gains two electrons. And when an atom gains three electrons, it forms trinegative anion, like nitrogen -3. It gets -3 charge because it gains 3 electrons. Now students, let's revise what we have learned today about ions. An ion is a charged particle, either positive or negative. Types of ions. How many types of ions? There are two types of ions, cations and anions. What are the cations? Positively charged ions are called cations and negatively charged ions are called anions. Cations are formed by loss of an electron, and size of cation is always smaller than parent atom because cation loses a shell and electron. Cations are generally formed by metals, while anions are formed by gain of electrons, and size of anion is always greater than parent atom because anion gains an extra shell, and anions are generally formed by non-metals.